Hi, and welcome to That's My First Pod, the podcast all about King of the Hill. I'm Jason.
And I'm Jimmy.
So we're always going to ask the question, how was your past week?
I feel like, was it last episode that we talked about Secret Santa? Or was it the
Yes.
episode before? Okay, so it has begun. Secret Santa week has started at work. And my person didn't bring me a gift this day. Well, I mean, the week is just I don't know if you want like a look behind the curtain, but we record at the beginning of the week. So the Secret Santa is a week long, but day one I didn't get a gift.
So
And
what's the... Oh,
was that?
no, I was going to say, so what's the rule with your Secret Santa? Is it so you mentioned last week there was going to be like that $5 a day for 5 days, adding up to 25. Is that what they settled on, or are they still doing like the old school?
No, yeah, it's a week
Uh,
long, so it's like $5 a day if you break it
ah,
up. So I mean, we got 4 more days to go, but we'll see. I mean, not a great start to the Secret Santa, and it's really tough. Where I'm like, I should just like, when you're like, it's just about the Christmas spirit, and it's got to be about the giving of the gifts. But you know what? I want something. Like I want gifts too.
yeah, I I feel like I guess that's an interesting setup, but to me, I don't think I'd want to do it that way. $5 a day for 5 days. Like I'd rather just get the one gift. It's also being the person who's buying. Like it would just be so annoying to have to buy five small gifts. So you're not unless you're getting gift cards or like a candy bar or something, you're not gonna get a lot of gifts for $5. So it would just be so much easier to just buy one, you know, $25 item versus five $5 items.
I totally agree with you. I basically like I think I said my plan was just to walk around Walmart with $25 and kind of figure it out as I go. And then I was like, man, a lot of my stuff is like food items, like candies. I did find a mini light bright for like $8. I was like, that's cute. Like she could put it on her desk. But other
Mm-hmm.
than that, it was like a lot of food things. So I don't know. I do enjoy Secret Santa. I will keep you updated. When everything is done, I will let you know how it all turned out. But so far, Secret Santa's been a bust right now, so we'll see. But on that note, what have you been up to this week?
Not much. So they had the Game Awards last week, and my game did not win for Game of the Year. The game I was rooting for, I did not create a game and submit it. So want to be very clear with that. I do not have those skill sets. But I was a big fan of Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I'm a huge fan of the Xenoblade Chronicles series just as a whole. And yeah, I was a little disappointed to see that it did not win the contest or did not win Best Game, but the what is it called? Elden Ring did, so I felt like okay, I feel like I should play it just to know what everybody else is kind of talking about. So I went ahead and bought it and started playing it. It's all right, I guess.
If you were to create your own video game, like what would it be?
It'd probably be a JRPG since that is like my preferred. Generally speaking, that is my preferred genre. That's not to say that I don't play other things, but I definitely enjoy that. Uh, I don't know what elements I'd put into it though. Probably, I really have to think about it, but it'd probably be similar to the maybe the Tales games because I feel like the Tales games is one of the few franchises that I've played where very few of the titles have actually disappointed,
Hmm,
whereas some of the other ones, were very hit or miss.
interesting. I would play that. I think my game would be a I guess I don't know. Like an RPG, maybe an MMO. and you like the game is you're a collector and you're trying to finish your collection. I'll figure it out later in the development stage of what you're collecting. But there's a certain you try and complete your collection of whatever cards or whatnot. And the game is you travel to flea markets, garage sales, and you use eBay to complete your collection, and you trade within the world.
I mean, that could be a very good game. I can't. Isn't that well? Isn't that like essentially Pokemon?
Yes, but more real life because it's like you're traveling to like where people would sell their Pokemon stuff in real life, like garage sales and flea markets.
Okay.
Had the like haggling systems, like gosh, what are those things called? Not to when people pass away and then they have like a garage sale, but it's called something else.
Oh, the estate
Estate
sales.
sale, yeah. You go to estate sales. Maybe you would inherit some cards from someone. I think,
Hmm.
yeah. And then, like, okay, how about this? And then you're a child, and if you don't stay on top of your collection, one day your mom throws it away or sells it at a garage sale.
Okay, so it's essentially like comic collecting or whatnot, but just a
Yeah.
video game version. That wouldn't necessarily be a bad idea. I'd support it.
I feel like, though, now that I'm thinking about it, it might need to be a mobile game. I feel like that's something people play on their phones.
Yeah, I think I could agree with that. That would definitely be a mobile game, and also the mobile games are not like bad anymore. Not to
Mm.
say that they were ever terrible, and there are a lot of terrible games out there for mobile. But I'm a kid who grew up with Snake being the
Yes.
best game that you could play on a phone, and now you have games that look like AAA titles that are played on mobile. I'm thinking in particular like Genshin Impact, for example. That game is a mobile game. I mean, graphically and whatnot, it feels exactly like Breath of the Wild would. So it's just so interesting that we're at this kind of place where things look that nice.
Yeah, like games that are cross-platformed with your phone. Like they're mobile and PC. Like you can be playing it on your PC, but when you're on the go, you play it on your phone. It's like you can be with your game 24/7.
Yes, absolutely, and I think that is amazing to be quite honest. And yeah, one of my friends is like hardcore into Genshin, and we played. I don't like playing on mobile that much just because I grew up playing controllers and stuff, and I feel like I just have better control with a controller than I do with touchscreen or whatever. So I was playing on my PlayStation, but we were able to play together. So yeah, just the way it's going. So you could make a mobile game like that that would actually not be too bad, and then you just use like the Unity engine or something like that, and you'll probably be good to go.
Yeah, I do think this is just like a comment to every development developer and whatnot. Just make your games all platforms. Like I want to play on PC with my friends on PlayStation, with people on Xbox. Like make everything cross-platform, and we're all gonna buy it up. Because if my friend has it on PlayStation, then I'm more likely to buy it now on PC because I don't own a PlayStation. But if anyone wants to give me a PS5, I'll accept. Just throwing it out there to my Secret Santa. And my Secret Santa's listening. PS5 would be nice.
Not sure you can get it for $25, but you never know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would. Gosh, that I do like my PS5 a lot. I kind of wish. Sometimes I wish I got the disc version. Uh, I got the all digital version, which is fine because I prefer digital myself. Just I get it. There's something missing from not having the hard copy, but at the same time, I feel like it's not like having the hard copy back in the day. Now, granted, I haven't bought a hard copy video game since like 2019 or whatever, but I remember when I was a kid, you get like that booklet and it had all the information in it and stuff, and now it just feels like you don't like all you just get is a hard case and that's about it. Like nothing really interesting about it.
speaking of like physical medium, and like I am trying to switch away. I am trying to switch away from physical medium, but then I bought a whole bunch of it on Black Friday. But do you ever think about like if a zombie apocalypse happened and then you like fortified yourself in your place, but there won't be any like streaming stuff. Like things would be down. Do you ever think
Yeah,
about like what physical me like what DVDs do I have to watch to like keep me entertained for the rest of
that's
my
a good
life?
point. I would probably be screwed because I have no DVDs. I have books. I have both digital and hard copy books, so I'd be fine in that aspect. And then my PlayStation, like, even though I have digital games, they're all downloaded to a hard drive or whatever. So theoretically, I could still play them unless they needed to ping the server. I don't know if they do or don't, but yeah, no, it's definitely something I've thought about a few times. If like hey, if the zombie apocalypse happened and I wanted to play my games and I lost internet connection, would it still work or does it have to ping home? But yeah, I would be in terms of video entertainment, and I would be having to watch YouTube or streaming until those systems eventually collapsed, and then I'd be screwed.
Like, should I be saving my favorite YouTube videos? Should I be like trying to download them, put them on a hard drive? That way, like during the apocalypse, I could be like watch Grape Stomping Lady or my favorite SNL skits.
I mean, these are important things to think about.
Yes. Well, I guess I would also have to figure out how to set up solar power. I think that's important.
Yeah, that's true. Well, that's actually a good point. Like if it's one of those apocalypses that don't necessarily affect the atmosphere, if you will. Like, we don't,
Mm.
it's not like the sun got blacked out or anything like that. Then it's like, okay, can we get our own, like, solar generator and maintain our own infrastructure that way?
Hmm. Those are my thoughts. Now that I'm kind of like, I don't know. I feel like we've discussed this. I don't know if I discussed it on the podcast. That I bought a CD binder, like a really big binder, and I'm putting all my DVDs in there. That
Mm.
way I don't have to keep the cases. So I've been thinking about
Mm-hmm.
that a lot. Like, are these the movies that I can rewatch all the time? Like, how many
And that's
Marvel
a fair
marathons can
case.
I do?
And that's a fair point. Gosh, I remember those days having like that huge CD binder with all of your CDs. And of course, I was of the right age where a lot of the CDs were also ripped CDs that I made using, I don't even remember what the big
Did
software
you ever
was
use
back in the day,
Kazaa?
but
Was Kazaa one of them?
I I did use Kazaa, yeah. And then I think there was one called BearShare,
Hmm.
and then there was one called Morpheus, and then there was Napster, and then I think LimeWire was one of them back in the day. So yeah, and I legit have no idea if any of those sites still exist today. I'm sure they exist in some format. I don't know if they're still what they're used for though.
Remember when Napster came back, but then it was like a subscription based thing?
Oh yeah, yeah, they came back and they tried to go legit, I guess you could say.
Yeah, but it wasn't as good. It's not as good if it's not. Also, like, it wasn't a pool sharing thing anymore. Like, you downloaded it from the site, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks like LimeWire is now a marketplace for music NFTs. All right, well, on one hand, I'm like, okay, I guess they went to go they went legit, but at the same time, I am not a fan of NFTs, so whatever.
Are okay. I don't under. I think I understand what NFTs are. Like, they're just digital items, correct?
Yes and no. It's even more innocuous than that. It's essentially just a ledger pointing to a URL saying that you own that image. That's really what it is. So it's not even like theoretically, it's not even the actual item. It's not even the actual item. It's just a record saying you own the item. But then there's nothing stopping somebody from right clicking and save as or whatever. So
But I don't even own the URL it's hosted on, or like this. Like, So what if the server is like, we're done, like we're bored of this, we're gonna stop maintaining it?
Yep. And
Then I
that
just
is a
lose
very
my NFT.
pretty much, yeah. That's kind of, and I know we'll probably get people hating on us for saying it because our NFTs are really popular, but I think it's just beanie babies for tech bros, to be quite honest.
Should we make NFTs? Can the NFTs be audio?
I guess
Maybe we just
theoretically,
like take clips of the podcast and we sell them.
yeah. I would love to see if they bring back King of the Hill, an NFT themed episode where Bobby gets into it and Hank's like, "Do I look like I know what an NFT is?"
Do you think Peggy's still on the same computer? Wait, she's got a Mac now, or she's got an Apple computer, right?
The
Because of that
in-universe
Christmas
version of
episode.
Apple.
Yeah. Because
Yeah,
it,
the in-universe version, because like what is it? They called it a blueberry or something.
yeah, because it has, it's an old one. Well, I mean, it's probably new at the time. Because remember when they had like the different color backings?
Mm-hmm.
I believe hers is orange, right? Or is I'm just making that
Uh,
up?
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure. I'd have to watch it.
Because it was that Christmas episode. Speaking of the apocalypse,
Yes, Y2K. We'll have to. I don't know if we're doing that episode, but we'll have to talk about that again sometime. But right until then, let's jump into episode 39. Orange, you sad. I did say banana, and this one was a tough one to like write out because the old joke. I keep wanting by default to type in orange you glad I didn't say banana, but it's orange juice sad. I did say banana. Uh, I can't relate 100% to this episode, but in a lot of ways I can. And it's a con heavy episode. And I think it's a very poignant point that they make through it. But let's just jump right into it. Season 10, episode 6. The episode starts at Ted Wasana-san's house. He's having some kind of get together. It's not really clear what he's doing, but he has a bunch of people over. And Kahn is impressed over all the stuff in the house, and of course, Min is too. They're just, I guess, clout chasers or whatever. I don't know what term you would use, but they definitely want to have rich friends and have a lot of nice stuff and whatnot. Min's like, I didn't even realize another person's money can make me happy. And Khan looks outside and notices the pool, and it's an amazing large swimming pool that he just had installed. And then Ted shows up and is like, "Oh, I noticed you are looking at the house. You must notice the Laotian lowland influence." And then they introduce him to Fong, who is an older gentleman, and he's a legendary guerrilla fighter outside of Laos. And Khan's like, "Oh, sorry they killed all your friends," and he's just kind of like, "Yes, that was very sad, but I'm dedicated to honoring their memory by continuing to fight." And Khan's like, "Oh yeah, the other size. So what do you think a smaller version of that pool would cost for me?" And they kind of eye roll at him because they're trying to talk about something important like Laotian rights and things that are important to the motherland. And Khan's like, "Oh, well, how's this pool?" So I don't know. I find it funny because all Khan cares about is funny and sad. It's all Khan cares about is material possessions. Like I don't think we see way too much of him in the entirety of the series where cares about something that isn't money.
well, there's a couple of things I really love in the beginning. First off, Peggy's computer's blue. I just Googled it, so you don't have to tweet us. Second, I love when Khan and Min are in Ted's house and he sees the TV and it's like the African um plains with a giraffe and stuff, and he's like, I don't know if I'm looking at a TV or if this is a window. And I don't know why I always laugh about that line.
That's right, he did say that, and it was pretty funny when he said it because yeah, he's just like, "Oh, I don't know if that's a TV or a window," and yeah, he's I guess, and they make comments like that about HD TVs, and I think like in universe, like or not in universe, but real world. That's about when HD TV started to become more mainstream. So I guess it would make sense that they make those comments.
I do remember when like really high definition was like starting to take off, and sometimes I'd be like, I can't watch TV on this. Like, it's too high def. It looks too crisp to me. And now I'm like, if I don't have that, this is garbage.
I remember when I got my first like really high def 4K TV a few years ago. Uh, when I did a TV upgrade, and I started watching old movies from like the early 2000s or whatever, so early CGI, and man, it looks really bad on 4K TV. Like bad CGI looks really bad on 4K. Yeah, sometimes it looks like a PlayStation 2 like crossover video or a PlayStation 2 cutscene or whatever.
Yeah, I was recently watching some like old horror movies from the like 90s, late 90s, early 2000s. And man, if they haven't like restored them, gosh, looking at kind of VHS looking stuff is really tough on 4K TV. It's
Mhm.
so grainy.
Yeah, it's just kind of funny when you think about it. Like, oh, in a sense, it feels like we're going backwards, but we're still going forward. It's weird. So we're back at Khan's house, and he has like the pool guy over to give him an estimate. And he's like, "Oh, I want the same tile that used at Ted Wasana-san's pool and stuff." And they give him the estimate. It's way too much, way beyond what he can afford. They never actually show us the dollar amount, but it's clear it's too much because Kahn yells, and the guys in the alley can hear him, but they don't really react. They don't care. They don't really care about Kahn. They have a love hate relationship with Kahn. Kahn comes up to the guys in the alley and says, "Oh, my dreams are shattered." And Bill's like, "Mine too. Want a beer?" And he's like, "I how could I ever afford a pool like Ted Wasana saw?" And then Hank's like, "Oh, well, it's not that hard. I mean, you're looking at just a concrete shell with a suction and return and motor assisted plumbing. If you could find a few guys who like construction and give them rights to the pool, you can make it for cheap." And that's when they kind of have a aha moment. They're like, "Hey, yeah, we could do it, and we'll get a pool." So everybody's all happy, and they're all on board. And the guys in the backyard starting to dig things up, and they're going all in for it, not just with shovels, but they also have like a backhoe and everything, and they're doing it right. I like how Bill is wearing a helmet, and he's like, "Oh, you got to protect your head," but then Dale, I guess, loses grip of a shovel as he's digging, and the shovel just comes and flies into Bill's gut.
Yeah, after he's showing off the hard hat, when he's showing Nancy
Yeah,
like this hard hat protects my the most valuable thing. You gotta protect your head. And then Dale with the shovel. I I wish I was like able to just be like, I want a pool, and then build myself a pool.
very same. I think the same thing. I don't. I could do small things like, oh, I want a shelf. Let me put up a shelf, and I should be good to go. I can do that all day, all night. But when it comes to like anything bigger than that, then I'm probably not going to be the greatest. So they're building a rectangular pool, and even Peggy points out, "Oh, a rectangular pool. It's like we're living next door to a mid-level hotel." Bobby's so excited that the pool's going there, and then Hank's like, "Well, first you're gonna have to go and take some courses on swimming, CPR, and pool etiquette." And Bobby's like, "Huh, I'm still excited." So hey, that works out. He's going to learn something, and he's still going to be excited. And while the guys are working real hard, Con and Min are inside. It's like, "Oh, this is a dream come true." You know, what is Connie's grade point average? A? Well, A plus. And that steak, is it select? No, it's prime. And are we really having a pool in our backyard? Yes, we're really having a pool, and Con and Min are happy. But like, the only thing that can make our life better is to get into Nine Rivers. And they kind of remember, oh, Ted is on the membership committee, so we might be able to make something work out. So at Nine Rivers, we see that Con is at the pro shop. I don't Believe it or not, I actually years and years ago belonged to a private golf club for a very short period of time. I do not remember what the rules were, but I don't know that the pro shops were open to the public. Like I thought you had to be a member, but maybe I'm wrong.
It feels like Kahn would always have like a guest pass. I know like Ted doesn't think of them as equals, but like I don't know. I feel like Kahn would get a pass on being there all the time, just because it seems like he would spend a lot of money in the pro shop.
I guess that's true. Yeah, and of course, Khan's not really in the pro shop to buy anything. He's just kind of loitering, hoping that he can run into Ted Wasana Song. And sure enough, he does. He sees Ted and Fong there. They've got boxes of stuff, and Khan jumps out. Oh, hey Ted, how's it going? And he's like, oh, we're getting ready to distribute food to the poor. And Khan's like, oh, is that a euphemism for playing a round of golf? And he's like, Khan, do you realize it's Puchat today? It's like, very famous holiday or very major holiday in Laos. And I think I looked it up briefly. I think it's like just that entire region celebrates it. So I don't know. I mean, it's a big thing in Laos, but I guess it's also big in Cambodia and whatnot. Just fun fact. Anybody who knows more than I am, feel free to correct me. But he's like, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah! I'm throwing a big Machu Picchu party over at my house. You should come." And he invites Ted, and Ted is like, "Okay, yeah, we'll go, and I'll bring some friends or whatever." And Khan is like, "Oh, it's great that we're getting so much closer together." And then Ted interrupts, like, Khan, the poor." And then Khan's like, "Oh yeah, I hope to get money soon." At the Arlen YMCA, Bobby is signing up for a CPR class, or more accurately, Peggy is signing Bobby up for a CPR class. And they're like, well, let's see, we have a basic 1 day course, a 2 week course that goes over like advanced procedures for seniors and infants. And they're like, great, we'll sign up for the 2 week course. And Bobby's like, Mom, and it's like, Peggy's like, your grandfather might visit. And I want to be able to say that we did everything we could. Oh gosh, that one makes me laugh because it's like it's a not so subtle way of saying Peggy wants Cotton dead.
I mean, oh man, I that part always makes me laugh as well. But you don't think Hank would jump in?
Hank probably would. I feel like Hank is the kind of person who is like always has a plan or is always prepared for everything. So that's probably why he wants Bobby to do it. Not because Hank wants to slack off and not, you know, perform CPR, take care of anybody, but more that he thinks, oh, if Bobby's going to be at the pool, he needs to be a responsible person as well. But I think, yeah, if Cotton were drowning and stuff, and even if Bobby didn't know proper CPR, Hank would still try to save him, and I'm sure somebody around there would have known. But yeah, it's still funny thinking about how Peggy reacted.
Have you ever taken a CPR class?
I have not, believe it or not, I have never taken one.
So I get CPR certified every couple of years, and I used to go to the same firefighter who would teach it. It's mostly like firefighters doing it as like moonlighting gigs to make extra money.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but the same guy would, and he would always start off as like, "You're gonna learn CPR today, but it's not gonna be like." He said it's like it's always gonna be different when you're doing it on a real person. He's like, "You'll never be prepared when you do it on a real person," and I'm always like, "Well, then why am I here?"
I guess having some knowledge is better than having no knowledge. I don't know. I
Yeah,
guess I could see that though.
I mean, well, I hope I could save a life. I hope I you know what? I would save Khan if he was drowning. I wouldn't let him drown. I would save Khan.
I could see that, like, it's one thing to imagine how you would behave in a controlled setting of a classroom and learning it that way. But then in an actual emergency where people are freaking out and stuff like that, you might all of a sudden just draw a blank on what you're supposed to do. At the, I guess you'd call it a pool christening or the pool opening. Hank gives like a little bit of a speech, and he's like, to a man whose backyard soil was of a consistency that made it easy to dig and had no crossing sewer lines, uh, which is exactly something Hank would say. Min calls out to Kahn that the guests have arrived, so Kahn runs to the front door. He's wearing a beach bum shirt, and he's all, he's dressed to be at the pool. And he goes to the front door, and Ted's there with Fong and a few of the Laotian friends, and they're all dressed properly. Like they're dressed for, I don't know, like a fancy dinner party more so than a pool party. As they go to the backyard, Khan's like, oh, my redneck neighbors built this pool for me. How about I make them build a railroad for me next and talk about some payback there? And they're like, Chinese built the railroads, not the Laotians. And Khan's like, oh, same difference. And then all of a sudden, everybody in the Laotian community who's there is offended. And he's like, oh, what? Just a joke. Too far? And then Ted's like, oh, Khan, can I have a word with you? So Fong and I think that you've been disconnected from your heritage and you forgot that you are Lao. And Fong's like, oh, you've destroyed your own identity and whitewashed it and everything. Khan's like, oh, what do you mean? He's like, we think you're a banana. And then they're like, well, what do you mean by that? Well, think of the properties of a banana. Yellow on the outside, but white on the inside. And he's like, oh, I'm not a banana. And then you overhear Min yelling, steaks on, who needs ketchup? And then Khan kind of, sheepishly smiles, and we go to commercial. So yeah, so that's going to be the that's the overarching theme of this episode, is that Khan's being called a banana because he enjoys, I guess, Western stuff, and he doesn't have a lot in his house to signify his Laotian origin.
Did Khan not tell them like? I mean, I guess he was just like, I'm having a party. A machu. What is it called? Machu Picchu.
Machu Picchu, yeah.
Yeah. He's like, I'm having a party to celebrate this holiday, this Laotian holiday, and Now I'm trying to think. I'm like, how do people celebrate this holiday in general?
I don't know. I think supposedly it's some kind of Buddhist holiday in the area. From my understanding, I'm guessing it might differ from people to people, or like not people to people, but like different people might celebrate it differently depending on socioeconomic class or whatever. Because we see everybody show up in like formal dinner attire and whatever, which makes me think, okay, they're not like, okay, I don't they I guess this group of Laotians celebrate it this way. They in like a somber or on a serious matter and stuff, but there's no way like everybody celebrates it like that. But I could be wrong.
Oh, I
But yeah,
just
I
googled
think
it. It's a very like meditative like thing. So it's very
yeah,
like
I don't know.
somber celebration.
My guess is it's probably more like a Christmas type holiday and less like a Fourth of July holiday. So it's more about togetherness and family and stuff, more so than like fun and barbecue and stuff like that. But yeah, I think that's kind of what Ted thought. Because I think, oh yeah, the impression I get is that Khan just didn't even realize it was a Machu Picchu day or whatever, and he just kind of planned for this party. And then when he realized, oh, it is, he's like, oh yeah, I'm throwing a party too, and he just used that as an excuse to show off his pool. Like he had no real interest in the actual holiday.
I also love when he's like, build my furniture. And the guys are just like, kind of like look at each other and like, okay, I guess we'll just go build this furniture. And they start assembling it. I love that attitude of like not really asking any questions and let's kind of just do this. I remember another episode where I guess this older lady or gentleman lived in a house and they passed away. And this guy comes around. He's looking for workers to help fix his mom's house. And then the guys just get in the truck and start working on the house without really asking any
Yeah.
questions.
Yes, I know exactly what episode you're talking about, and that was hysterical with it up because yeah, they're just like, okay, sure, whatever.
Yeah. I do think though that they're like this is a commutative pool. So like his furniture is like our furniture when we're at the pool.
Yeah, I kind of think that's the impression I get anyway. Is that they're kind of like, oh, this is like it's in Khan's house, but this is everybody's pool. So yeah, we should put out the chairs and stuff.
Though, I mean, to give like props to Kahn, he didn't kick them out when the party started. Like he wasn't like, oh
True.
my, the was it Nine Rivers? Nine Rivers people are
Yeah.
here. You guys got to go, and you can come use the pool another time. He was just like, whatever. And he was like, this is a party. Like I'm celebrating my pool. So there are moments where I'm like, if I really believe if there was no Nine Rivers in Ireland, that Khan would be really good friends with the rest of the people on the street.
Probably. I think the big thing is that Khan sees himself as above everybody else, but I also think that kind of feeds into his own personal low self esteem. The reason I say that is because I don't think he's happy with who Khan, the human being, is. He always wants to like fit in with this elite crowd and everything like that. And I think part of that is him insulting the people that he sees beneath him, even though realistically they are on the same level. Like, they live in the same neighborhood. It's not like Khan has a super rich house and then everybody else is poor or whatever. It's like they probably all paid roughly the same amount for their home.
Yeah. Man. Yeah, I do. Yeah, they all probably make around the. I feel like Hank makes good, decent money. You
Yeah.
know.
Well, and he's kind of dual income too. Now, granted, Peggy's work seems unstable. It's not like she's working a steady, 40-hour a week or whatever, but they are dual income, so that could help.
Well, man, maybe Hank makes a lot of money, and that allows Peggy to kind of pursue these other avenues.
Maybe. They are good at budgeting, though. Like, they don't buy a lot of fancy things, whereas the Super Nintendo phones do, so
Oh man, I think about that episode where Bobby has to do that one thing. And he thinks they're really rich.
yes, I think we might be doing that one. I'll have to
Okay,
double
that's a good
check.
one.
After the break, Khan is upset about Ted's statement. He looks around his house and he's like, there's no sign of my Asian heritage. And I guess to an extent, he's true. There's like nothing, at least not in the shot that we see, there's nothing that looks like it came out of Asia at all, or obviously out of Asia. It all looks pretty Western standard stuff, I guess you could say, standard stuff for an American household. And he's like, somebody walks around here and thinks, oh, this is where Johnny Smith lives, not Con. He's like, oh, I can't even pronounce my own name. And Min's like, oh, you're just stressing out. You're fine. You spoke perfect Lao to your mother last week. And then Connie walks in and Con speaks Lao to Connie and Connie doesn't understand. She's like, what? Are you swearing at me or is it time for dinner? And like, oh, she's not even, our daughter can't even speak Laotian. This is embarrassing. And Min's like, yeah, I guess we can connect to our heritage a little bit. And it's like, hey, that gong that we hit during American Idol? I'll show you what it's really for. The guys go to the pool, and Hank's like, oh, this is a weird weed that's near the pool, and Khan shows up, and Khan's like in, I guess, what you would consider villager outfit, and he has like a little wooden uh, watering bucket, and he is like, "Oh, that's my celery that I'm growing in my backyard. We Laotians, we are very self sufficient, and we don't need grocery stores." And they're like, "Okay," and they go for a swim. We go to Ted's house, and Khan talks a little bit about, how we are doing a little bit more to support the Laotian culture, and Ted's like, oh, well, you still need to get in touch with your Laos self. Like you're still a slave to American luxury. And then Khan actually pretty smartly points out, like, I'm a little bit confused as I'm looking around your house and you have a pool and a big screen TV and 4-car garage and stuff. And Ted's like, yes, I own all these things, but they don't own me. And of course, appropriately, Khan's like, huh? And then Ted's like, well, let me explain. He pulls out this little trinket that he has in his pocket and he says, this statue was created 300 years ago it embodies the Lao spirit. As long as I have it, I am always connected to my heritage. And Khan's like, oh, okay, so I just need to get one of those and then I'll be fine. Do you have a spare one? And Ted says, oh, you're not ready yet. It won't mean to you what it means to me. So at this point, I kind of feel like Ted's just screwing with Khan, but at the same time, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it because on one hand, I feel like Ted's just screwing with Khan to see how much control he has over Khan and Khan's like well being or his emotional self or whatever. But then at the same time, I also think he's one of those types who's like a gatekeeper, if you will. Like he's the oh, you're not a real Laotian because you do not follow our definition of what a Laotian is, kind of thing.
I think Ted um, is like a money's guy. You know, he's like, I support the charity by donating to it a lot. You know, I fund the charity, but since you can't fund the charity, you have to work in the charity. You know, like so.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, later in this episode, we find out more about what Khan has to do to kind of uplift the community. But I really feel like Ted's job is to like facilitate all that. You know, that's how he uh,
Mm-hmm.
runs it. You know, and he's like, I don't want to be there, so I have to be here. So that's why he has that little like crystal like statue trinket thing, which I find
Yeah.
is like I don't know. I feel like that's kind of cool to like. I mean, he's using it for all the wrong reasons, but to kind of have something and be like, this connects me to my culture. I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I could see the benefits of that, or I don't know if benefits is the word I want to use, but like, yeah, I could see why somebody would do that or why how he would come to it. But it's also like your heritage and your cultural identity is not something that could be summed up in a little, 2-inch trinket or whatever. But whatever, it also could just be that's how Ted is gatekeeping himself. Like he wants to have fancy stuff and whatnot, but he tells himself that, oh, because I have this thing, I'm still connected to my Laotian heritage. So that, all these things don't mean anything because I still have this. But yeah, and I just feel like they're screwing with him. But we go back to Khan's place and we see that his house is stripped of like all Western stuff, and it looks pretty much like what you would probably see in a Laotian village. I've never been to Laos, but I'm imagining that's probably what it looks like. And Khan's like, "Oh, what are we having for dinner?" And Min's all angry. He's like, "We're having rice and meat for dinner, like the past few times." It's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just so used to American palate and variety in food." And in the background, you can hear the guys are all swimming and having fun, and they're a little upset because they're not having fun. And Khan's like, "Oh, let me tell you a story about two chickens growing up and how he rode them in the wheelbarrow and stuff." In the background, you can still hear people like, "Oh, cannonball," and it's making them a little upset. Speaking of the pool, the next day, or excuse me, speaking of the pool, you go outside just to see what everybody else is doing, and they're all kind of in like the inner tubes, just kind of floating, enjoying themselves. And Hank's like, sometimes I think I'd like to visit Indiana. Is that weird? And like, no, that's a great dream, Hank. And Hank is like, Kahn is beating himself up for God knows why. Yeah, but he should just be out here having fun. And Dale's like, man, I can enjoy this man's pool as he suffers. In the bedroom, they're watching a loud drama, and they're sleeping on the floor. Like they got rid of their mattress and they just have like a sheet on the ground and pillows. And Kahn is still all into it. And Min's kind of losing interest in it. And as Kahn walks out, she actually puts on Friends. Yeah, Kahn's like getting hardcore into this. Even in the next scene where we see Bobby mentioning, "Oh, I passed the test," and they get ready to go to the pool. Kahn actually like filled the pool with algae and lotus plants and koi fish and whatnot. He's like, "Oh, it is a reflecting pool." And they're like, "We had a deal, Kahn." He's like, "Oh, you had a deal with the Americanized Kahn." not the true Kahn anymore, and everybody's angry. But yeah, Kahn's just going crazy now.
I mean, to convert a pool that fast, I mean, to withstand for koi fish to be able to live in there, I mean, he must have been at it all night, replacing the chlorine water.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe they weren't out for a day. Like that's going to be my headcanon. They were busy doing something that day, and Kahn was able to make all the changes while nobody was paying attention.
And I do think this all stems kind of like what you were saying about like how Khan feels about himself. Kind of the one comment of "you're a banana," and he kind of is just like, "I'm not a banana," and he's like, "Let me prove to you how unbanana like I am," and goes like full
Mm-hmm.
180 on everything.
Yep. At Ted's house, Kahn started about how he rediscovered his roots, and he's like, "Okay, so I'm now, a real Laotian now." And Ted's like, "Oh, not yet." And then Kahn's like, "Oh, great. The Lao community is not taken seriously like the Cuban community in Florida." He's talking about how like the Cubans have political influence in America while still having kind of ties back to rebel groups back home. So it's like we need something like that here in order for us to be successful, or in order for us to be taken seriously. So they are creating like there is a rebel group in Laos, like in the Laos jungles, and Ted is going to, with the help of Fung, is going to help lead the way. And Ted wants Khan to join his militia. At first, Khan's just like, "Oh, you want me to write a check to support these people? Yeah, I'm happy to write a check." It's like, "No, we need you to actually join our military." At first, Khan is not into joining, but Ted kind of plays this mind game with him, saying like, "Oh, what's worse, to live as a banana or to die as a Lao man?" And Khan Khan puts on the uniform and goes and sees Min, and Min's not happy. She's not buying it. She's like, "Oh, this is too far." And Khan's like, "You know what, Min? You're acting like a banana." And Min is upset, and Khan walks out because he's got to go to training. And you know, I guess that was kind of the breaking point for Min, because she's like, "Connie, stop hauling rice. We're gonna go to Whataburger." Uh,
I did want Whataburger. After she said that, I was like, I really want Whataburger. Uh, See, this is kind of what I was talking about. How like Ted is like the kind of recruiter guy, and that's why he doesn't have to do anything. He recruits Khan and these other people into this crazy guerrilla military group that's gonna I
mm-hmm.
like I don't know. What are they gonna do? I mean, they talk about it later, but like what is Ted expecting to happen?
I don't know. I think that's why I still kind of think he's screwing with them, because, like, in the next scene, we see them at Nine Rivers, and they're like going through military training. Which one? I mean, I guess Ted is like maybe high enough in power to where the people will let him get away with it. But yeah, it seems weird that they would do it there. But they're doing a training, and Ted's still dressed up like his normal self. But they've got Khan and like four other guys dressed up in military gear doing basic training, and Fong's like teaching them and stuff. And Khan's just Khan's not really into it, and he's getting distracted because he wants to play golf, and he sees everybody playing golf. And Ted's like, "I convinced Councilman Everett to make the first Tuesday in May Lao Freedom Day, and we are going to march from the nail salon to the boba tea shop, and we're going to look smart doing it." And yeah, it feels like these five guys are just random guys, similar to Khan, who are kind of kissing butt of Ted and want to be like Ted, but then Ted takes advantage of them. And yeah, I think this is all just for show or whatever, because there's no, like, Ted's a smart guy. There's no way he thinks that these five people are going to be able to take down a communist regime.
But does the other guy know that? I mean, what's his name?
Fong, well, I think he's
Huh?
different because he's an actual guerrilla fighter and supporting other guerrilla fighters. So he's probably just thinking, "Oh, these are just five more bodies we can throw to our team." and whatever. So he might actually be serious.
So okay, I mean like I don't know if he lives there now or if he's just visiting, but I don't know. This feels now kind of like really thinking about it. It feels all weird. Like that Ted is recruiting these people to go fight in this war, and then like Ted might not be taking it seriously, but this other guy's taking it like really seriously, and I don't know what is gonna happen to everyone.
They never really show the end game, and now I'm really curious what it might be. In the alley, Kahn comes up and he's wearing his uniform and he has a black eye. And Dale's like, "Oh, did you try to steal the pool from somebody who can fight back?" And he's like, "No, I took a butt of the rifle to the face." And Dale's like, "Ha, poetic justice. You steal a pool from us, and then a butt of a rifle steals the health of your face." And Hank's like, "I still don't really get what this army is, but why don't you go and clean the pool?" And he's like, "Oh, this is a serious deal. When Ted says the code word Siddhartha, that's when we're gonna be serious. This is not just a toy army or make believe or whatever." And then Hank's like, "Uh huh. So what's gonna happen when he says this code word?" And he's like, "Oh, we're gonna get onto a cargo plane and fly to Laos. And assuming we're not shot down, we'll parachute in. And if we don't die on impact or get shot down, then we will march into the capital where we'll either be killed. Some may get taken prisoner. Now, we may be tortured and re-educated and then forced to fight in their army." Huh. And then Khan just kind of walks out and he's like, "Anybody else notice he cuts a good figure in uniform?" Now Khan goes home. Connie's practicing violin, sees Khan, gets upset, brings out a like I guess an Asian lute and plays that instead. Min is watching what I think is like E News or some kind of entertainment news. And it's like, "Oh, don't start. I'm not going to turn this off." And it's like, "Oh, what is it?" It's like, "Oh, it's Nick Lachey and Jessica Simpson promoting some kind of workout tape." And it's like, "Oh, when I was a banana, I would have eaten this up." And Mint's like, "Oh, I'm really starting to hate this Terra Banana." And he's like, "I know, me too. And I'm tired of doing all this just to have Ted saying, 'I'm sorry, Con, that is not good enough.'" And Min brings up a good point. It's like, why do you let Ted tell you what to do? That's why he fled the communists in Laos and the HOA in Orange County. So basically saying, don't you just want to be happy? Like, don't you want to eat baby back ribs and listen to the music you want and whatnot? And Khan just has that realization. He goes to Ted's house, rings the doorbell. He has all of his military gear in his arms, and Ted's like, "Oh, Khan, what's with the visit? And why do you have your uniform?" And he just drops off the stuff, and he's like, "Oh, well, thank you for helping me get in touch with my roots, but I'm not going to need this stuff anymore. It's like this: if you need somebody to come and play golf, give me a call. But if you want somebody to feel guilty, leave me out of it." And he walks away, and Ted kind of gets Ted's upset. He just gets his maid to pick up everything. We go back to the pool. Everybody's having a good time. Pool's back to normal. And then and Khan does his normal, like, "Oh, I'm better than you, Hank." Khan's like, "Maybe I'll buy out your house and then I bulldoze your fence and make an even bigger pool." And he's like, "Oh, yeah, whatever." And then Bill chokes on a hot dog and Bobby has to go and give him the Heimlich. It's like, "How many times I have to tell you, Mr. Dotrief, chew?" And of course he's fine. And then the episode ends.
Those first aid, CPR, pool training classes really paid off at the end for
Mm-hmm.
well, I guess they paid off for Bill. This is Bobby saved his life.
Yes, exactly. Bill came out on top on this one.
Also, do you think Min doesn't care about as much because she kind of grew up in a little higher class than maybe Khan did?
I think so. I think that's part of it, probably, but I also think it's because Min isn't as much of a kiss ass as Khan is.
I mean, they both
So,
really
like,
want to get in the club, though.
they both really want to get in the club, but I think Khan is willing to go to those extremes, and Min not so much. Like, I think to Min there was a point where it was just too much. Like, I think she was fine with maybe some of the stuff that they were doing. But as they started to like get rid of more and more of their comforts and whatnot, she was just like, okay, this is a bit too far. And I kind of agree. Like, I mean, I'm not Asian, so I can't really talk about that like from that perspective. But I am like, I'm half black, and I'll get a lot of people who will say like, "Oh, you're not really black, or you're whitewashed, or stuff," or use the term Oreo or whatever. And it's like, who are you to be able to dictate like an identity like that? Like you're not the gatekeeper of identity. It's not like Kahn has to live like a poor Laotian in order to prove that he's Laotian. He is Laotian, and how he chooses to identify it and how he chooses to live his life is his own business.
Watching this, I kind of can relate to Khan in a bit. I am half Asian and I'm a half Mexican. I'm half Korean, half Mexican. Um, and it just like I think back when I was younger, I really craved like the respect of both like you wanted to be like respected by both cultures, and you want to be like I am a part of both of you. And now as an adult, I'm kind of just like I don't care. I kind of just like embrace I don't know, embrace myself. I embrace both cultures, and I like participate when I want, like can and do, but I don't let that define my life. I don't think that should define who you are.
Exactly, and you get to just say who you are. Like nobody like you're not nobody else is the gatekeeper is what I guess I'm saying. Like, yeah, nobody else gatekeeps for you. They don't get to say, this is how a real X acts, or this is how a real Y acts. Like, you get to be who you are. That's what you are. Khan is Laotian regardless of what they think. He was born in Laos. He has Laotian parents. He has a Lao ethnicity, speaks Lao, all that stuff. So what if he enjoys baby back ribs and he enjoys watching American television or something? It doesn't all of a sudden mean he's less of a Laotian person. But there's always people out there who will gatekeep for you and say, "Oh, you're not really one of us because you don't fit this weird paradigm or this weird definition that we have." And Khan, I definitely think is more so they're both definitely like kiss asses and whatever, but I think Khan is definitely more so than Min is, and he really really wants Ted to like him, and that's why he does it. And then that's kind of when Min tells him like, hey, we left the communists so that we didn't have to deal with this stuff. Like, why are we letting Ted Wasana tell us how we can enjoy our lives?
Yeah, it's just they're just being con and men, and you know they enjoy it, and I'm glad that everyone got to have a fun time at the pool. And bananas are cool. I like bananas, and I like Oreos, and I like whatever else. So there's nothing wrong with being a delicious food.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also be you. Be who you want to be. Who cares what other people think you are? It doesn't matter if you're not enough or too much. You're actually always enough. It's up to you what you are. It's not up to anybody else. But yeah, if I had like a message, or I guess not even a message, that is like what the episode is saying. It's like, hey, be who you are and be happy about it, and don't let anybody else tell you who you need to be.
Yeah, and it's a great lesson. Um, I always feel like Khan has all these kind of like don't let other people define you lessons, and it takes him a while, but he eventually learns.
I do like that he did actually stand up to Ted in the end. Like, it's not like we actually got that resolution. It wasn't just him like just saying, "Oh, I'm moving forward" or whatever. It was actually him going to Ted and saying, "Yeah, I don't need this anymore. And if you need to make somebody feel guilty, call someone else." So it's just like him kind of telling Ted off. I did love that ending as well.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, everything was really, really good, and it's great seeing him stand up to Ted. He does it not often, but when he does kind of stand his ground, and he's like, I really just care about my family and just kind of being myself and enjoying the luxuries I work so hard for. So
Hmm.
it's Really great. And does Kahn even play golf?
He has all the equipment, so maybe. We don't really actually see him play much except for that one episode where they're at Nine Rivers that we reviewed in the past, but I don't know. But yeah, that's all I've got in this episode.
Yeah, same for me. It's a really great episode. Like I always say, one of my favorites. Definitely worth a few rewatches. It's some of these episodes drag, but I really feel like this one goes by really quickly. Like once you start watching
Yep.
it, it goes by really fast. So it's a good watch.
Yes. Yeah, I agree, and I really like it because it's one of the few where we actually see some serious character growth come out of Kahn. So, next week we will be reviewing Queasy Rider. So please join us as we do that one. Until then, I'm Jason.
And I'm Jimmy.
Bye.
Bye.